Okay, hi everybody. It's Ushma, Charan, and me, and we're going to talk about the new Miraculous, particularly in regards to what Charan's been working on, and your amazing work. So maybe you want to start, Charan, by just sharing with us kind of what's the latest breakthroughs in what you're up to.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so just to backtrack a little bit so that people can get what we're talking about. Up till now, I've been, and I know Ushma's already kind of had that where I'm at right now, but it was a progression of things of how it happened. So my background is like usually basically as an epigeneticist. So what that means is basically that we're looking at the beliefs and the things that are impacting the DNA and all of that, and help, working on all of the energy around the DNA. Now, so if people know about that, then they also know that the word for genome, like genes, is genome with an E. Now, for my own branding purposes, I came up with like genome, which is OM, as a sound, ohm. And as I was doing some work with you on one of the groups, that I think it was the Quantum Groove group, right? I had this biggest sort of awakening, or whatever you want to call it, with regards to this work, because it was like we were just looking at it the wrong way. And it was, initially DNA and then all this other stuff. So it was gene and then ohm, trying to get to the ohm, you know. But what occurred was, like, it's just really a turnaround of that. It's ohm gene, which is oh my God gene, which is like the God gene. And what I actually saw inside was that there is, and I knew this before, but it just occurred to me that as we know, the source within us. And that is what is, if we can, it's almost like if we can, rather than having looked from above, we go inside and we have an internal eye that's looking out. And as it's looking out, it's through this that you can create anything. And it's through this that even DNA is something that we've just created. So it's like this whole thing just unraveled, where we then don't have any beliefs, we don't have any traumas, we don't have any of that. So it's like just that little turnaround just shifted everything.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, because you've done such amazing stuff with the gene work that you've done, that video from you in India, and working with the Down syndrome baby in the womb, and the girl with cystic fibrosis, I think, wasn't it? And the what would be called a miraculous turnaround, actually, in those things. But then I've also seen you work with people on pain management, well, not pain management, pain breakthrough. Because I've seen you on calls where somebody will say, my pain is at an 8 or a 10, and you just be with them for a minute, and it reduces to a 3 or a 1 or a 0 even.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to stay pretty consistent with it. Can you just explain briefly, like, what are you doing when you do that kind of thing?
So it's like I said to you, I've known about the source, and we all do, the source within, and how to get into that space. The operative word being space, because that's exactly where it is. And just by being that, we can become a frequency that is like a vibration, that is like a tuning fork, that allows the other person to actually begin to vibrate that frequency, and it just shifts. So that's how that's been going. But lately, it's also been in the matrix, working with the matrix in that. Now, something else happened in the last few days, actually. I began to see that there's like that essence of us, it resides inside of us somewhere, and that when we can bring our focus to that, it just channels out until we have any intention or something, that it's like like a lighthouse kind of thing, you know. It you can actually create things from that place, but it's not because you want to create um, as a result of gaining something, but it's more about just, I mean, you guys know that. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the thing that happened was I saw in the field that I could, so let's hang on a minute, because I need to explain this. So with science, they say, quantum physics, it says that every photon is connected. So if there's one photon here, there's another one over there somewhere in the universe. And then if you just do this over here, the other one will do that over there. And so, you know, when I was doing this, it just came to me that once we have that internal space, we can connect to somewhere in the universe where those two photons are. And you can literally, it's like an arrow or a connection that you can see between the two. So what I found myself doing was, if I say, for instance, I'm working on somebody who has some disease or something, and you know, they're coming to me for help, what I do is I go into my space and state, and I visualize where those two photons are, of where the person is actually well. And it literally, it's like I see a connection just form. And then, but it's like, it's quite interesting, because it's actually like 360 degrees. And I can choose, like I can tune in and say, okay, which direction is that? Where is it? And it'll kind of go poof, and any direction, and will be the one for the person or whatever it will be for. And then that's it. And it's like, and then from that place, I'll just be with the person. And, you know, things just unravel and sort themselves
That's
out.
so interesting. Can I ask you a couple of questions about that? So you say there's a point where they're well and there's a point where they're not well, right? Where they are now. And is it so? I'm like, how would I find that point? Is what I'm asking. How do you find that point where they are well? Where is that?
So it's not actually the point of where they're not well to where they are. It's the point of you.
Right?
The point of you, because we are everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's finding, knowing your center, and from that point, actually going 360 and just finding where it is, and it'll show you
Where their wellness is.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
And then you're holding the energy of that point and in you, not doing anything with them. You're just being that field and emitting that field. So then that becomes the reality in physical reality as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've been really seeing lately is with a lot of people, the moment someone tells them unwell, especially a doctor or medical, it gets embedded. There's a fear, concern that ripples the frequency down. Then the pharmaceuticals help to kind of throw it into place even more, but it's their concern, their thoughts about it that locks it in. And I've been playing with the concept that those are all just constructs. They're not true. They're not real. And how could you be with them so that stuff just doesn't exist in their field, and they're in a clear space of creating what they want it to be, and able to, and it is frequency to me too. It has to elevate frequency, no doubt about it. It's hard for people to elevate frequency when the doctors just said, oh, you have cancer, or you have this, or you have that, and then it drops all into this space. But the minute you get all that out of the way, then there's a clear creation space. And I noticed that with myself, my body responds to the commands that I give it. Commands is a funny word, but it's like a programming code. That's how it occurs to me. It's like I'm programming code into this miraculous thing that is my body. and then it responds accordingly to the code that I put in. So if I believe I am unwell, I am going to get more unwell. Whereas if I'm energizing and putting in the frequency and the belief that I am always well, and I'm always moving towards that ultimate wellness, then my body responds to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that I can be that for someone else by finding that point in myself and being the field of wellness for them.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that I kind of show people that they can do this is I say to them, I say, close your eyes and imagine like there's a field of information, and it may look like the ocean, it may just look like space, whatever it looks like. And it's like, okay, so in that field, there is one point where their reality exists, which is the present situation. But what I work with them on is really to get neutral to that, so that they're like, because if you're thinking, and we know this, right, that if we're thinking we want to change this, it's almost like we're stuck in that little spot.
Yeah.
We can't see anything outside of it. So we have to become the observer of it without wanting it to change, to be then able to get access to the whole field. And I think that's really crucial. And in the miraculous. And once they get sort of to know where that is, then I ask them to scan the field and notice, because it's like billions of possibilities that exist. And I say, okay, well, scan the field and see where it is for you that you have the reality that you'd like. And so then they'll scan it and they'll sense and see and feel it. And then I get them to embody it. And as they're embodying that, I get them to look back at the other reality. And I say, well, what's happening to that? Oh, wow, it's kind of going away. It's like in the mist and, moving away. So that's kind of how I do it. But with this arrow thing, that just popped in the other day, actually. It was just like, literally, while they're doing all this stuff, or I can guide them, my focus is always on, I've got it. Like, there is no other reality than this. And yeah.
Fantastic. One key question I think to that is, when you're doing something within for another being, people talk about them having free will, or they have free programming, or all that stuff. So what happens, I think what you're saying is you neutralize all that, both in yourself and in them?
Well, I think, we have to, when we know that we are the universe, then it's us we have to work on, isn't it? And we have to get neutral to every aspect. And like, for instance, if I'm working with somebody who's got a disease that is, in the belief system of very difficult to shift, and if I'm buying into any of that, then I'm not going to be able to help them get into the miraculous. And it's for me to get neutral. And as you all know that already. I feel like I'm speaking to the people that are already like
I know, but
all
the people watching. But the thing is that when you say neutral, I want to clarify this a little bit. I don't think it's neutral like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's neutral like everything all.
Yes.
In a way, without bias, without prejudice, without intention, without agenda, without any of that, but yet it's not a neutral nothing space, is it?
So it's like, say, for instance, somebody's dealing with something on a day-to-day basis, like, say, type 1 diabetes, and they've got to keep injecting themselves with insulin 5 times a day or whatever, however many times.
Yeah.
So they're going to be constantly faced with that reality that they've got to measure their blood and, the sugar levels and all of that. So it's really looking at where is it that their system gets jarred at every point. So, it could be in the past when they were diagnosed. It could be when they're looking at their sugar, levels, just everything. So what I do is I kind of say to them, where are you with this, and how are you feeling about that, and all of this. And it's kind of like, Ushma, you're irrelevant. It's basically making them feel like it's irrelevant. So once they get neutral to that, it's like, well, actually, it doesn't even bother me now that I have to go check my sugar levels, because I can see this other reality, and that's all that matters. And it's okay if this reality is this. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, you actually have to, it's almost a separation of whatever seems to be going on in physicality, whatever seems to be going on with your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because then you move to a space where you are feeling amazing regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the space you play, is in that field and in that energetic. And then you let it be, whatever seems to be, you let it be, because you've moved to that point of wellness. And yeah, so I do it through the irrelevance thing.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to a doctor and doctor's results and what the doctor's telling you, it's like, it doesn't matter what he says to you. Whatever he says to you is irrelevant, and it just sets up their field, so they even get positive results in the doctor's surgery, or they get, so it can shift. That's the thing, that none of this takes a long time, so it can shift on a dime. The second you shift the energy, it can shift in that second. And whether it's a physical symptom or it's something that the doctor's telling you, they can even, test you 1 minute and test you the next minute, and it can be gone. And that's I think what we're pointing to in the new Miraculous. It's not time-based, it's not linear, and it's not stretched out in any way. But the question that keeps popping in to ask you is, and I don't know why, so I don't know where this is going to lead, if anywhere, but what is the access point to the new Miraculous, like the newest Miraculous now? What is your access point?
Ourselves, isn't it?
Mm.
It's like I said, it's about finding that point within us that feels like the core of, to me, it feels like we are a condensed version of God.
Nicely said. Yeah.
In the sense of that we've kind of taken all of this, the stars and everything, and just kind of contracted into one body. And so it's almost like we're the light's coming through us, and then we become the prism, and each of us may be different colors, how we sort of represent that energy. So for us to actually get to the place of what you're saying about irrelevance or neutrality, we actually move. It's like so if the light force is coming through, and you have sort of a bandwidth, if you've got things going on that you're not neutral to, then you'll be off that where the point is coming through. So it's sort of getting yourself to that place where then that can come through and be unfiltered, really. And then I think that's where the new Miraculous is actually being able to come to that place where that can just come through us without any inhibitions or anything.
Can I just add that it occurs differently for me, in that it doesn't occur inside me. It occurs, I expand into the vastness of the godness of the universe. And then I am the matrix, I am the field. I do think there's still an access movement point from within, but it doesn't, I love the way you're talking about the sources from here. And I'm only saying that because I think different people might have different access points. So just want to make sure they think, we don't always have to do it one way or another. Because I think that's the key with the new Miraculous. It's so awesomely creative and super miraculous in the moment that it just like, we keep discovering and exploring and discovering and exploring and discovering and exploring. And for me, the ultimate in the new Miraculous would be that every one of us would take our own physicality, we break our leg, we fix it.
Yeah.
We have something wrong, we recharge, revitalize, set ourselves to ultimate wellness over and over and over. And then that's our continual state of regenerative vitality, you could say. I believe that's where we're going to with this. This is us stepping into the new phase of being able, that's why we're calling it the new Miraculous. Because I think in the old Miraculous, Christ and all the beings who did all that, the blind and all that. I think people weren't able to understand how it was some mystical, experience that a few genius, like miracle workers could do. But what we're saying is all of this is understandable and doable by anyone and everyone. It should become a normal part of our day-to-day lives. And that's, I think, what shapes the new miraculous, is that us and the field and the universe and the godness and the potentiality and potency of us is just all right there for everybody. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
You felt like when you were speaking, Charan, as well, that like a portal open to the new miraculous. And I love what you said, Soleira. So maybe we just do that work now, because I think that's what we all stand for that to be just, it almost feels like, why isn't that the case already? Why do we have all these other things? And so for us to just really do the energy work to bring that physical and bring it present now.
Okay, let's do it. Everybody who's watching too, just join us in calling that new miraculous into play everywhere. Okay, here we go. I know we will each have done a different piece of work with that. So it'd be interesting to hear what that is. Mine was, I have a completely well body and a great relationship to that. And I became the matrix of all, and then coded the matrix of all to completely well always bodies, and then saw that like just slip into everybody. Like it was matrix coding in a way, which we've been playing with in another small group we've got. So that was what I did. How about you guys?
So, well, for me, it was like connecting to that point in the field where it was the miraculous is already there, because it was and it is. And it's just for us to recognize it and see it. And then it was like that happened. And it happened so quickly that I think if you put more thought into it, it kind of gets in the way.
I agree. I always say that if you stay in there too long, you're now putting stuff into it that's not that instinctive power moment of, it moving. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and for me it's so funny, because actually that's how whenever I do stuff, I'm using the whole irrelevance kind of platform. It's like that. It's very, very quick. But this was like, when you were speaking, I just felt like this portal opened, like in my center, of this energy of the new miraculous, and that just poured through. And that portal isn't just about the new miraculous for bodies. It is the new miraculous. So it's still open and it's still flowing, and it's really powerful kind of energy. And it brings me back to probably about this time last year, where I was like, talking about the new magic, and remember we had that call, and you were like, well, what is that? And you said, I feel like I can do that already. And I'm like, no, more than what we can do already, the new magic. It's like wine into water, but not wine into water. Do you know what I mean? It's that level of the new miraculous, because it's such clean, pure energy. It's and very sparkly, and it is, I think it's linked to all these new energies coming in for 2020, that we're creating a brand new world, and even our vision or version of miraculous there is going to feel so different, and it is so light and so clear. So I love it.
Brilliant.
I want to sort of bring in the energy, because if people are wondering, like, well, what does this look like, and for me, I know where my passion for this got ignited. I mean, I've always had it, but when I read the books Masters of the Far East, Masters of the Far East, and I was reading about how they were able to kind of teleport and move from one place to another, and then there was they wanted to have something to eat. They were out somewhere remote. They just put their hand out, and there was some bread. And then they wanted some money. They put their hand out, and there was some money, just the exact amount they needed. And this is it. It's that the access of this fullness, this potential within us. And it's just, I don't know who said this, but it's the limitations, the ones that we've placed on ourselves is what's causing us not to believe that.
Yeah.
I love that, goosebumps.
We're developing a new relationship with matter.
Mm.
I think that's what's happening. And we're beginning to understand that matter isn't fixed. And that our ability to be with matter can reorganize and optimize matter in some way. So in terms of well-being, but also what you're saying about abundance and all of that kind of thing. It's so exciting what we're going into. So love it. Okay, we better stop. That's been wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, everybody. Bye for now.